Hi, and welcome back to our Judges class. So today we're going to do something different. I'm going to review, and since there's so many judges to review, I'm just going to go quickly through it. The girls are not joining me today. Sunday we were planning, and then there's my co-host Dreamy. Everybody say hi to Dreamy. Sunday we're going to try a game, and I'm trying to figure out a way that you at home can participate with me. And I think I have a way. So we're going to try it out Sunday. So join in with us on that for Sunday. What I want to do, Dreamy's interrupting again. So what I want to do today is I will post, when we post this video, in the show notes, as they call them, in the notes for the video, we'll provide a link that takes you to Apologetics Press. They have a system. In some states, I don't think we have it here, but they have accelerated reader in the schools where the children can choose a book that has their level on it, of their level of reading, and has points. When they read the book and then take a test, they'll get so many points based on how they did in the test. And so Apologetics Press has created something similar called Advanced Bible Reader. You can go down there on their website, and parents can create an account, and then you can put your children have their own account under you, and then they can take tests and then get points. So here's the way it's going to work. There are 4 tests, and if you score 70% or better on the 4 tests, that's 7, each one has 10 questions. So if you get 7 questions or more right, have your parents send me an email or a text, somehow contact me, and I will see about getting you a prize in the mail. Okay? So let's get on to our review. I'm going to start by singing the song. So sing along with me so I'm not just being silly and singing by myself, please. All right. Let's sing it. God set judges over Israel, 1 brave woman, 14 men. They helped Israel fight their battles, led them back to God from sin. Othniel, Ehud, Shamgar, Deborah, Gideon, Abimelech, Tola, Jer, Jephthah, Ibzan, Elon, Abdon, Samson, Eli, Samuel. Okay, so let's quickly run through some facts that we know about each judge. Othniel was Caleb's nephew, and if you recall, Caleb put out a challenge that anybody who could conquer a certain mountain, he would give his daughter in marriage. And so Othniel took him up on that challenge. He got the mountain and he got Caleb's daughter to marry. All right? It says peace reigned for 40 years while he judged. Okay? That was our first judge, Othniel. Then Ehud. People turned away from God and served King Eglon of Moab for 18 years. Then the people cried out to God to save them. Remember, this was a typical spiral during the book of the book of Judges. They typically would do that. They would turn away from God, they would serve idols, and then they would be oppressed. Dreamy's trying to move my camera here. Get down, buddy. They would be oppressed, and then they would cry out to God to save them, and God would raise a judge. So here we have that cycle happening again. So God raised up Ehud. Ehud was a left-handed judge, so that's something significant to know about him. He hid a dagger on his right thigh and went into the king's chambers, and stabbed him. Then he was able to escape. Okay? He escaped to the mountains, he blew a horn, and he called the people to follow him. Pesky fly. They killed 40,000 men of Moab that day, and they had peace for 80 years. Then we have Shamgar, killed 600 men of the Philistines with an ox goad. And he's only mentioned in one verse. Okay? Then we come to Deborah. She was the only woman judge. She was also, it says she was a prophetess. Now Barak was going to go fight. Sisera was the commander of the army. And Barak was going to go fight, but he wouldn't go unless Deborah told him that he would win. So he wanted her to prophesy that he would win. Well, she prophesied that he would win, but he insisted that she had to go with him. So she went with him into battle. But before she went, she said, the battle's not going to be in your hands. It's going to be in the hands of a woman. And I know when I first read the story, I thought, Deborah's going to win the war, but no. Remember Barak and his army killed all of them that they fought against, all except Sisera. And Sisera ran, and he hid in the tent of Jael, and Jael got him to go to sleep, and she put a tent peg through his head. Okay? Remember our song? Jael fought the battle with Sisera, and Sisera stayed laying down. Okay? And Deborah judged for 40 years. Then we have Gideon. Gideon, remember, he took down the altars, and the people didn't like him, and they called him Zerubbabel, or Jerubbaal, however you pronounce that. God dwindled his army down to 300. Oh, I skipped over one line. He put out a fleece, remember, to test God. And he said, if you want me to go to battle, then you make the fleece wet and the ground dry. And that was what happened one morning. And then he said, well, how about the fleece be dry and the ground wet? And so he got his message from God that he needed to go to battle. Then God dwindled his army down to 300 to fight the Midianites. And remember, that was the tests. He first sent home the people that were afraid, and then the people that cupped the water got to stay, and the others he sent home. So then Gideon took his army and surrounded the city of the Midianites. But he was still uncertain that he would win the battle. So God told him to sneak up close to the city, and he overheard two people talking, and they were talking about a dream. Remember the dream of the loaf of bread came and rolled down the hill and hit their tent and just destroyed the tent. And so the person that he was talking to said, oh, that means that Gideon and his army will prevail, and we're gonna be killed. So Gideon went back, and he was bolstered up and ready for the fight. And he told his people they had surrounded the city. He told them to have a pot, a torch, and a horn. And during the night, they threw down the pot, destroyed the pot, which of course made this horrendous noise, this terrific noise. And then, so the people of the Midianite city saw the torches all around them, heard the noise, saw the torches around them, and they heard the horns blowing. So every man of the 300 had a horn. And that put them into such chaos that they woke up from their tents and they were like, oh, we're going to be killed, we're going to be killed. And they started killing each other in their panic. So actually a very sad night, but Gideon and his people won. Then it says he judged for 40 years. So we have another 40 years. Now remember Abimelech. He is the next judge, and some people don't consider him a judge because he was kind of a bad man, and I think he appointed himself judge, although the Bible does say that he judged for so many years. So that's why I have included him, and he's also in the song that somebody else had made up. So we included him to talk about him, but I want you to know that some people don't consider him a judge. So he was the son of Gideon. The Bible actually says the son of Jerubbaal. Remember, Jerubbaal was the name that they had given Gideon after he after he took down the altars. Okay, so Abimelech was the son of Gideon. He killed his 70 brothers, and the only one that escaped was Jotham. He was the youngest. Then the people of Shechem and the surrounding cities made Abimelech their king. Okay. Then Jotham told a story. He told a story, and after he told the story, he ran away. And it's a very neat story. We read it in class. Abimelech, it said, served for 3 years, and then he went to battle. His own people decided, we don't want you to be king anymore, and they wanted him to stop being king, and so he went to battle with his own people. And all the people ran to this tall, strong tower, and when Abimelech came to the foot of the tower, to try to breach the tower to get in to kill the people. Then a woman threw a millstone off the top of the tower, which hit him in the head, and it didn't kill him right away, but he knew he was dying. So he asked his armor bearer to kill him because he didn't want it to be said that a woman killed him. So his armor bearer killed him. All right, then we have Tola, and there's only 2 verses about Tola. He was the tribe of Issachar, and I believe his father was Pua. My girls are all excited about the name Pua. And we are at 10 minutes, so I'm going to try to go through these quicker. He judged Israel for 23 years. Then we have Jair, and there's only 2 or 3 verses that tell us about Jair. He had 30 sons that rode 30 donkeys and had 30 cities. He judged for 22 years. Then we come to Jephthah, and he judged for 6 years. His brothers kicked him out of the house because of who his mother was. He fought a battle. Remember, he made a vow with God, and he won the battle, and so he kept his vow. Then we have Ibzan, who had 30 sons, and he gave 30 daughters away in marriage. He brought in 30 women to marry his sons, and he judged for 7 years, and that's all we know again about Ibzan. Then Elon, all we know about him is that he was a judge for 10 years. Then we have Abdon, and it's very interesting. It says that Abdon had 40 sons, 30 grandsons that all rode on 70 young donkeys. That's all we know about Abdon. Oh, and he judged 8 years. 8 years for Abdon. Then you remember, I believe we had a 2-part lesson on Samson. Now, angels appeared, I think it was the angel of the Lord, appeared to Samson's parents and gave instructions to his mom on certain things to eat and to never cut his hair. And his strength came from following these rules of what to eat and drink and about cutting his hair. So he followed these instructions, and it gave him super strength. He was a superhero of the Bible. He had super strength. Okay, he killed a lion with his bare hands. Then later he came back and found honey in the lion, which he ate. And he also shared the honey with his parents, but he didn't tell them where he got the honey. Then he made a riddle that he posed to when he was having a wedding feast with his wife, and he made a riddle which his wife tricked him into telling the answer to the riddle, and that caused all this mess, and he ended up tying 2 foxes together and getting their tails, he tied torches to the tails and sent them off through these people's fields to destroy their fields, and it was an awful situation, and his wife and father-in-law were killed in all of this as well. Then he meets Delilah, and Delilah tricked him 4 times. I believe I made a mistake in that video, and I said 3, but 4 times she asked him. So it was 3 times she asked, and he gave her a wrong answer. I think it was new bowstrings and tied up with new bowstrings and tied up with something else. I'm sorry, I didn't look at the specifics. And then also wove his hair on a loom. And of course, none of those worked. But then the 4th time she asked him, and sometimes I wonder why Samson told her the truth that 4th time. But he did. He said, if you cut my hair, I'll be as weak as anyone. And so she did. While he was asleep, she cut his hair. And then the Philistines, because he lost his strength, they were able to capture him. And they poked out his eyes, and they forced him to work. Then they, for whatever reason, they decided to bring him to their temple and celebrate the fact that they'd captured this Samson, the strong man of the Jewish people. And so he found the pillars of the temple and he prayed. His hair had begun to grow during this time he was in captivity. And he prayed that God would give him strength just one more time. And he pushed the temple. He pushed those pillars down. And it says that he killed more with this temple coming down and crushing the Philistines. He killed more Philistines in his death. Of course, it killed him as well. He killed more Philistines with his death than he did in his life. And he judged for 20 years. Then we have Eli, who was a priest. He told Hannah that God would answer her prayer. Remember, she was praying outside the tabernacle. And then she kept her vow by bringing Samuel to the tabernacle when she weaned him. And so Eli took in Samuel. Eli's sons were corrupt. And you remember the story when Samuel came in the temple and he kept thinking that Eli called him, and Eli kept saying, go back to bed, I didn't call you. And finally the 3rd time he said, Eli said, okay, just tell God you're listening. And so he did. He listened to God, which the message was that Eli's sons were corrupt and Eli needed to take care of that. But of course, Eli did nothing. Eli died when he heard that his sons died, and the ark was captured by the Philistines. In the same day, he judged Israel 40 years. Then we have Samuel, raised by Eli. He served in the Lord's tabernacle with Eli. Samuel heard the word of the Lord even when he was young. He let none of God's words fall to the ground, is what the Bible says. He anointed Saul and David as kings of Israel. He judged Israel all the days of his life, it tells us in. Remember, these two, Eli and Samuel, are in 1 Samuel. 1 Samuel tells us about Eli and Samuel. And that's in 1 Samuel 7:15 when it says he judged Israel all the days of his life. And that's significant because the other judges only said 7 years, 40 years, whatever time length it was. And he was raised from the dead by King Saul, which God allowed it, but King Saul brought him up to ask him questions. Okay, so that's our review of the judges, and again, we're going to try to play a game on Sunday's class, so I hope you join us for that, and I hope that these lessons are helping you. Thank you for joining us. Bye.